الحمد لله رب العالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I want to get my backup going here because we don't want to miss nothing. Alhamdulillah, I am again flying solo. I know we've been away for a couple of weeks. But alhamdulillah, it's all good and necessary. Inshallah, next week, my co-host will be joining me, Haja Kamila Shuaib, and inshallah, all is well. So alhamdulillah, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome as with family. And we're going to go ahead and get right started. There are actually two components to what I'd like to focus on today. One is practical action. I'm going to let me go ahead and share. This is we're just going to get right to it, inshallah. Find my document here. Yeah, no, not a lot of bells and whistles for this. Just straight notation. But these are the things that I want to point out. And I want you to also understand what's driving my mood, sentiment, etc., and the information that we want to share. How much is going on, or you should feel or sense how much is going on with regard to this being an election year, and those who are involved with the elections and the controversies, conspiracies, shenanigans, or whatever that are going on, and it just depends on which side of the ping pong table net you happen to be. For me and for believers in Al-Islam, it's like we know nothing is going to happen except by the will of Allah. Nothing is going to happen except by the will of Allah. But that being said, we still don't know what's going to happen, right? We still don't know what and we won't know what's going to happen until it happens. Excuse me, Bismillah. All right, so in the meantime, first, don't get caught up in the mass hysteria at either side of the equation, either side of the question. Don't get caught up in that at all. Make sure that Allah is the focus and the reference that you take to when you have a question, you have a concern. If you can't figure it out, leave it to Allah. If you can figure it out, your heart will come to rest with it. You will know how you should act. And that's it. Don't get overwhelmed, because that's also a part of the strategy. We just don't know who is the absolute final puppeteer in all of this. And you get caught up on one side, and that's precisely where the puppeteer wants you to be, and you think that you're doing your thing, but you're actually responding to their thing. So you have to be careful, cautious, self-disciplined, self-aware, and trust only God and what God has revealed and what the Prophet has said, mashallah. That being said, the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to mind. We'll say a little something about it in coming, and what we can say it says that trust in Allah and tie your camel. Let me jump down here in my notes. No particular order to this. Let's see. Yes, here's the hadith. This hadith. Let's blow it up. The full story behind that hadith. And it's this. He said the hadith narrated by Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, that a man came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and asked, "O Messenger of Allah, shall I tie my camel and trust in Allah, or should I leave it untied and trust in Allah? That this was someone trying to deal with the issue of the qadr, right? The qadr, nothing shall happen except by the will of Allah, or what is the real meaning? Is it foreordained? Is it predestination? Does it make a difference whether I do this or whether I do that? This was what he was actually trying to get an answer to. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Aqilha wa tawakkal." So aqluha wa tawakkal is saying, tie it, tie it meaning tie your camel and trust in Allah. And it's very important to get it that it's wa, it's not then, it's not thumma. It's trust in Allah, put your trust in Allah and tie your camel. And the aql, this aql in the first portion of that command, that's intellect. Use your mind, use your intelligence in order to make a decision. But then don't think that your intellect is all that you need to apply in order to be successful, right? You also have to trust in Allah. So do both at the same time. As you are using your intellect, put your trust in Allah. You trust in Allah more than you trust your own intellect, okay? But you use both. And that's what started us down this road here, to speak of practical action and reliance on Allah. Let me let you know what's coming up is, after I finish saying a few ideas here, what's coming up is we're going to be talking about the monetary history, the evolution of money up to our modern times, because looming as large as the consequences and the significance of the 2024 election, it's significant for the entire world, not just Americans, not just any single ethnic group in America. The world is going to be changed by the decisions that are made here in November. So it's a very big thing, but again, we don't want to get lost or anxious or worried or caught up, if you will. But still, you have to tie your camel and trust in Allah. So I should have added. Let me see if I can get to it quickly. That I can give a summary quote of Carter G. Woodson, but it's always important. I guess that's one of the few things that I'm gonna have to get memorized. Let's see. Oh, let's go over here. Find it in my notes. The father of African American History Week, right? I'm seeing the note of, when you control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his behavior. But the one that I'm looking for is changes in the seats of power. But it seems that I'm not going to be able to get to it readily. So I'm going to have to make sure that I give it its own place. All right. So I have to, oh, there it is. Alhamdulillah. It is that history shows. Let me go ahead. Just some of you take screenshots. So let me see. I'm gonna stop the share on the other one. Kill that off for right now. They got all these doggone. They update these apps and the format changes and he's so familiar with the other app, and now he hit you with the other one, so you can't even, not even clear how that's supposed to. No. Okay. Change domain. Let's take that out. Thank you for your patience with coming. So now it's still on the screen, so it must mean I literally have to close it. You sure you want to say the changes? Yeah, let's save them. All right. New stuff. All right, so now I want to share this quote. I'm mainly interested really in giving you an opportunity to screenshot this quote, because we all should know it, and you should refer back to it, especially on the way to November. You really, really should. And let me get it big so I can read it properly for you. This is Carter G. Woodson. He says, history shows that it does not matter who is in power or what revolutionary forces take over the government. Those who have not learned to do for themselves and have to depend solely on others never obtain any more rights or privileges in the end, that is after the change, than they had in the beginning. This is in The Miseducation of the Negro. And that's worth reading all over again. And I have done a piece on it, and, inshallah, it'll get out there at some point in time. I just went through the preface of that book, The Miseducation of the Negro, and just translated New Muslims, in where you put the Negro, and then you have those who have gone from the back of the bus to the back of the camel, as one author puts it, put them in the category of the miseducated Negro. I'm just saying, I'm trying to move on, but it is what it is. And so there's a need. So the paradigm that Carter G. Woodson lays down, in fact, when I did do the subject, it was, I'm going to call it 10 years ago, that miseducation of the Muslim African American. The miseducation of the Muslim African American. And all I did was just switched out the names, switch out the quote unquote the roles that are being played that he's pointing to in that preface, and it fits properly when you just translate it into make the world where it's black folks and white folks, blah blah blah, black Negro, and then the sophisticated Carter G. Woodson, if I'm not mistaken, he was the second African American to get a PhD after E.B. Du Bois. In any case, so the whole idea in is talking about that education. So when you translate the institutional education to what some have given the position of quote unquote so-called classical traditional Islamic learning, there's nothing wrong with it if you have your own mind. When I say your own mind, I mean the natural mind, your own mind. You can have your own mind and agree with other people. It doesn't mean that you don't have your own mind because you agree with somebody who says something that's true. I don't want to spend a lot of time there. I want to say those of you who dare do so, and those of you who can get in touch with me, and I'm giving you all the opportunity to get in touch with me, sabilillah@aol.com. I'm operating solo now. Otherwise, I would have Camila put my email address in there. But sabilillah@aol.com. I will send you that piece that I'm trying to tell you about Carter G. Woodson. Just send me the Carter G. Woodson piece. So, okay, sabilillah@aol.com, and I got you. All right, so I'm going to read it one more time and I'll get out of it. History shows that it does not matter who is in power or what revolutionary forces take over the government. Those who have not learned to do for themselves and have to depend solely on others never obtain any more rights or privileges in the end than they had in the beginning. No disrespect, but let us reflect. Don't you forget. Yeah, I'm a poet, didn't even know it. 2008, we got the first quote, black president, unquote. All right. So right now is your life. It was a great thing. It's a wonderful thing, beautiful thing, you know. However, is your life better now because of that? So, okay. So based on what can you, I am voting. I will be voting. Okay. Tie your camel, trust in Allah. So don't think I'm saying, man, I ain't messing with vote. I'm voting. Allah's gonna do what Allah's gonna do. I'm gonna do what I feel as a citizen I should do in not in my interest, despite all that we know and understand about the system itself and the culture and the blah blah. So I'm doing that. Fine. But if in fact, you know, what plausible, reasonable expectation do you have for whether it be Kamala or whether it be Trump? Well, it's okay. So I'm not trying to dissuade you. I'm only asking you a question for you to answer for yourself. Okay. But let's get out of this, Fahim. So I don't want to get into the weeds on all that. All right. So let's kill that off. Let's remove that. Now let's go back and okay. All right. All right. All right. With all that background, there was a Bible saying that I was familiar with, but I wanted to get it exact. So here it is for you. It says the Bible does mention something similar in Ecclesiastes 7:12. That is the King James version of the 7th chapter of Ecclesiastes, 12th verse. It says, "For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellence of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to them that have it." Right? So you need to have, just like we talk about tie your camel and trust in Allah, tie your camel and trust in Allah, you have to have wisdom and you have to have money. That's just lock that in, lock that in, lock that in, and associate that with the Carter G. Woodson quote that if you weren't doing for yourself before, it doesn't matter who takes over the government or who becomes the leader in the government. If you haven't known and recognized and accomplished self-sufficiency, then you're not going to have any more rights before or after that change takes place. So what's the response? One is tie your camel and trust in Allah. What is a part of the tying your camel? Get knowledge and get money. I'm going to be raw. Get knowledge and get money. Knowledge is power. Yeah, go ahead and work out everything else you need to work out. Yes, knowledge is power if you practice it. Okay, good. Wonderful. As long as you understand. Okay. The idea is that, okay, what do I do in the meantime while all of this stuff is going on? What should I, be grinding and working on and, focused on and trying to achieve and accomplish, etc. Self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency. That's what you should be working on. That's what if everything goes to hell in a handbasket like it feels, then now's the time to get your resource position so much better that you have this self-sufficiency. Something's happening in the economy. We're going to say we're always saying something about that, but it's not. They had the thing, the Enron scandal and whatever, the smartest guys in the room and the Big Short and Inside Job. All those are little movies, docudramas, etc. that are telling us, or that tell us, that what there are people on the media and in positions of power, both corporate and otherwise. They say, "Oh, everything's fine. Ah, you got nothing to worry about it. Oh, is it?" While all the time, they're giving signals behind. You just sell that stock, short that stock. Get out of this, dump that as far as you can. Hot potato, da 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 da. That's what they're doing in the meantime. Because when we wake up in the morning and turn on that, I don't do it, but I'm just using the paradigm. And turn on the news. It's already went down. It's already went down. It's too late. It's like, what was that? Somebody had a song or a record album or something said, if you're reading this, it's too late, right? So don't wait for it. Do not wait for it. What kind of plan do you have? Let's just do one thing just as an example. And it's never too late. I mean, the point is, look, if you know about it, if today you come to know about it, today, that is what your emergency fund scenario is. Very real. Your emergency fund scenario. How is that? So people have different measures for it. As a general rule, it's 6 months. Do you have what would sustain you if nothing else changed? Can you sustain yourself and your life, etc., for 6 months if it went down right now? That's the question. If you don't, okay, well, that's a plan. That's a project. That's something to work on. That's a goal. Okay. I've even heard numbers like 3 months, etc. But the point is, you have to get ready. So vote as you will for who you will. Fulfill your duty inside of this republic, etc. Do that, but at the same time, and even with more vigor, because we know that the system is, to put it lightly, imperfect. Get wisdom and get money. So you should be driving and striving to learn how to read the Quran, the Word of God, in the original language, because there's powerful message there that changes your life and that releases power and potential and capability that cannot be released under any other influence. That's a fact. And our Juma, the title of our last Juma, was if you believed it, what would you do? If you believed it, I just said something. And the refrain is, if you believed it, what would you do? If you believed that there's something in the Quranic Arabic language which will release in you potential that can't be released in any other way, if you believe that, what would you do? Okay, there's no greater wisdom than what Allah has revealed in the Quran. And the Quran was not revealed in English. I've already said this, and I'm going to move on. Okay, so get the Lughat al-Arabiya. There's so many free options. There's so many free opportunities. You can spend a lifetime, even if we were just talking about YouTube, period, without reference to my brother, progressive sheikh, progressive chief, Mali, Imam Salim Mu'min, right? And Illy, Islamic Learning Institute, with our dear sister carrying on the legacy of our dear brother Imam Qasim Ahmed, Islamic Learning Institute. So in addition to those options, there are more free options there. So it's like there's no excuse. You can find exactly what you want in the noosphere, I'm going to call it, for as far as Arabic learning. So I'm gonna push on past that. So what are the other two things besides tying your camel, trusting Allah? Get wisdom, get money. That's it. So this verse highlights that both wisdom and wealth can serve as forms of protection or defense. However, it emphasized that wisdom is superior. And here again, going back to the hadith of the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said the words of Allah are superior to the words of man, just as Allah is superior to his creation. So the Bible can't give you the wisdom that the Quran can. It can give you wisdom, but it cannot give you the wisdom that the Quran gives. So the best wisdom to get is the wisdom of the Quran and the life model of Prophet Muhammad, who is the Quran walking, right? It emphasizes that wisdom is superior because it has power to give life implying that wisdom is more valuable than material wealth. The Quran and Hadith also emphasize the value of wisdom and knowledge and their roles as forms of protection and guidance, similar to the verse from Ecclesiastes. And here are some relevant references. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:269, just reading the English, the expression of it, said, He grants, that is Allah, He grants wisdom to whom He wills. And whoever has been given wisdom has certainly been given much good, and none will remember except those of understanding. We could spend years, if we were working with the Arabic of that, we'd spend years on that. But it's telling us, get wisdom. The wisdom is, and I think now it comes to mind in the Nation of Islam, which I recommend those of you. If you're listening to me now, then you have a proclivity to listen to other things that we bring. If you are a long-term, devoted, committed student in the legacy of Imam W. Muhammad, and you can't get enough of what you need to defend yourself and defend that legacy from the onslaught of those who probably weren't even born in some cases when Imam Muhammad stepped to the helm of leadership of the Nation of Islam. Okay, but they're moving like they already know, and we know why. But go to my Facebook pages, and you'll see the piece where it says the defense's final argument in the case of fraud against Farad Muhammad and the original Nation of Islam. It is a very long piece. I say that in the beginning, but you read it, you're going to be all right. You're going to be, if you ever had a pain in your arm, your chest, or even you talk about gas or whatever, and you had that thing that you just take it and so much better. Do that. So if you're not fully clear on the paradigm and the way of understanding the work of W.D. Farad, that's the piece that will enable you to do that. And that's what I say. I write it to support people who find themselves often in discussions about it or debates about it, etc. That's some ammunition for you, inshallah. All right, so the Bible says, he said, get wisdom, but in all you're getting, get an understanding. All right? And here's the Quran saying essentially that, even just looking at the English. He who grants wisdom, there's the wisdom, to whom he wills. He grants wisdom to whom he wills. And whoever gets wisdom has certainly been given much good. And then God says, pay attention. And none will remember except those of understanding. It just keeps going. It keeps going. God bless the child that has his own. You know that song from our culture? Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that has it, his own. Go look up the parable of the talents. Go look up the parable of the talents. This is a guiding principle, though in an Ayn Rand way, John Galt. You gotta look these things up. That story, the moral of that story, the one who took their talent and buried it while others went to do this, do that, but this one had buried his talent. And when the master, supposedly God, comes and asks him, "What did you do with your talent?" He said, "I buried it, so I'd always have it." And then God took the talent from them, effectively, because if you don't do anything with the talent, then the talent's going to be taken away from you. But also the principle that comes from that, from the people who are materialistic and not in a good way, it says, those that have, they get more. They interpret that story that way. If you have it, then you get more. And the people who get deprived of it, they deserve to be deprived of it, right? This so-called objectivism of Ayn Rand that gave us Fountainhead and all the rest of that. So the point is that God is saying, where the Bible says, get wisdom, but in all you're getting, get an understanding. God is saying, yeah, that's right, get wisdom, but the only way you're going to get more wisdom is through the understanding that you have gained, how can you say, cumulatively, right? None will remember except those of understanding. This person got wisdom, and then they got understanding, and then they recognized the value of understanding. Then they took their understanding back to their source of wisdom, and with their understanding, looking back at that source of wisdom that gave them the wisdom that led to the understanding, it's cyclical. Who gave them the wisdom that led them to this understanding. Then they turn around with that understanding and apply it again to the source of wisdom, and then they get more understanding, and then they apply it again, and then they get more. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that has their own. I think also one of the lines is I don't know. So y'all know better than me. I'm moving on. I'm really trying to get to the history of the money. But the idea is that if you don't use it, you lose it. Let's put it like that. But if you use it in the Islamic way that we're saying, the wisdom that you get, then you're going to get more understanding. And when you get more understanding, you're going to get more wisdom. And when you get more wisdom, you're going to get more understanding. Alhamdulillah. So what's the most important thing to get? Wisdom. Because if you get wisdom and understanding, of course, you got the understanding is the byproduct of the wisdom, inshallah. That is, if your intention is good and right and proper, and your taqwa, your relationship with Allah is good, that's how that cycle happens. So in terms of the wealth, you lose the wealth, then with wisdom and understanding, you can get the wealth back. But if you have wealth but no wisdom and no understanding, then also you're going to lose that. Okay, so enough of the logic of that. You got that. So this is the thing that we want to understand. And one more hadith, then I'm gonna move on to the another and the central topic, and that is the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, let me show you where I am. The Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, wisdom is the lost property of the believer. Wherever he finds it, he has a right to it, right? So keep what I'm reading, and I'm trying to do it myself. Keep what I'm reading in the frame of wisdom is a defense and money is a defense. Wisdom is the most valuable out of all of them because wisdom leads to understanding. Understanding leads to more wisdom. You can replace material things, but if you lose wisdom and if you lose understanding, that can't be replaced. It's in terms of its value. I'm sure, I guess maybe somewhere somebody might go ignorant and fall out and become stupid and lose all the wisdom. Yeah, as long as they're alive, Allah can restore it. But why put yourself through that, right? So get wisdom, get understanding, hold on to it, apply it. The way that you benefit from it is by applying it. And as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, seek refuge with Allah from knowledge that brings no benefit. Who is a scholar? He was also asked. He said the scholar is the one who knows and uses what they know. So you have to apply it, right? So you do that, then all else is going to be fine. But here's another correlation between wealth and wisdom. Another correlation between wealth and wisdom. So wisdom is wealth, right? So wisdom is the lost property. And it's also the source of property. Wisdom will lead you to means and wherewithal for property. In fact, Imam Muhammad, rahimahullah, he says that the material life, speaking of wealth, the material life is intellectually fated. Is intellectually, when he says intellectually fated, what do you mean, man? He means that those who know are those who will be in a position to acquire more than those who don't know. Doesn't mean institutional or college education, et cetera, et cetera. It's the wisdom and the knowledge of the reality of whatever it is that they're dealing with. That the one, here's the principle. Money flows from those who don't know to those who do know. It's like a seesaw, right? Money flows from those who don't know. That they're up here. They're not heavy. They're not heavy enough. They don't have the knowledge of whatever it is that they need. So they don't know. So in order for them to get what they need, their money has to flow to the ones who do know. And so, therefore, those who don't know, they're the ones that enrich the ones who do know. But it's by nature because the ones who do know provide for those individuals lacking self-sufficiency, either in that knowledge, they're in the technology gap, etc. The not having the wherewithal, the knowing how to be self-sufficient, then they have to turn to someone who has the wisdom and the understanding of how to be self-sufficient. But then they have to pay them for their lack of knowledge as to how to be self-sufficient. All right. So so the wisdom is the price. So you have the wisdom, then what's going to naturally gravitationally follow the wisdom and the understanding is the money. Who is the richest man in the world today? What is his IQ? I understand the limitations of that labeling, but I'm just trying to use shorthand to get to where we are. What is his IQ? And what is the IQ of the rest of the folks that are in the tech world? You can call them nerds, you can call them whatever. And when you go to Wall Street, you're going to also find those people who have a level of knowing, a level of knowledge, the wisdom and the understanding of that domain. That's what. So it's like you have to know it. You can talk to some of these basketball players. If you catch them off camera or whatever, and you let them talk to you about the game, you will hear them talking to you in a language that you have no idea. And you hear this language of basketball IQ, right? The famous pass of the past 24 hours that was made by Mahomes behind the back. Have you ever seen somebody throw a pass behind their back while they're being chased? Come on now. That's the melanin side of that boy. Y'all know it. Just call it what it is. It's like what was that movie Flight with Denzel Washington in it? You know, yeah, man, turned the plane upside down to say to people, "Who does that?" No, so be different, right? I got to move on. All right. So enough of that. So you got what I'm saying. I'm saying get wisdom, get understanding, get money, don't get lost. Yeah, I'm trying to avoid saying it, but I got to say it now. Don't get lost in the sauce, right? Don't get lost in the sauce. A lot of stuff going down, but you don't have to. Don't get lost. It's like stay focused. Stay focused. Stay on your grind, as my children say. They headed out to Atlanta. It's like what I don't know what spot they're in. So anybody out there in Atlanta, you can look for whatever big major thing is going on in Atlanta for Black folks. They'll be down there, inshallah. So you know what to do. Don't get caught up. Vote just for no other reason than for your conscience and for the fact that look, I am a citizen. I understand that the system is flawed, etc. But I'm still going to do that because I have new world patriotism mindset. Okay, so yeah, it's just so much comes up there. Troubling statements like Christians, the only time you need to vote, you only need to vote this time because this will be the last time you have to vote, and we're gonna fix it. I mean, God, no, he said that live, publicly. Just vote this time, and you ain't gonna have to vote no more because we're gonna fix it. I'm not gonna stay there. If you haven't heard that, then spend some time finding out what are the talking heads saying. And I'm interested to know, since we're at this point, it's like if there is a debate, because it looks like somebody else is becoming feeble-minded and erratic. I'd like to know, could you explain that statement that you said when you said wow? Okay, I want to hear that. If that question don't get asked, right, or is asked, and okay, let's move on to the next question. Then that's a real problem. Let's talk about the money right now, though. Okay. because there's an opportunity in the midst of all this. Do you Muslims, you hear what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran? فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Verily, with the difficulty is the relief, right? So again, don't get lost. Make sure that your mind, your sentiments and sensitivities, your expectations, etc., are all your viewpoints. Okay, those of you who've been with us, EVEDA, make sure that that's lined up with your way of life, al-Islam. All that you if you're in that, then you're good, because that's what it is. So in terms of that, trust what Allah has given you. Let's transition here. So okay, so let's consider the whole 2024 politics thing and how we should therefore respond. Let's consider that's covered. Tie your camel, trust in Allah, do your vote. Okay. And then second thing, okay, that's part of it. Don't get lost in the sauce over there. Second thing we just talked about, okay, wisdom is the defense, money is the defense. Okay, so the second thing you should be, after not getting caught up, all right, is get wisdom, get money. Get wisdom, get money. Get wisdom, get money. It's like, Fahim, what should we be doing? Get wisdom, get money. You understand what I'm saying? And get money for all the righteous reasons. Now, I'm not saying what whoever else says when they talk about get money. You know what I'm saying? Now, third thing, in conjunction with all of that, what you do with your life and what you do with your resources, that's your business. This is not, I'm telling you my opinion, what I believe / what I do. If you choose to believe and do according to what I'm saying, it's because you decided. So own that decision on your own, right? But in the face of this extreme threat, which it is, that is looming on the horizon in this election year, Allah at the same time, at the same time, there's a blessing that a world grade, world class, global blessing that's been around for a while. You heard me talk about it. You know it's going to be coming back in our conversation as it is right now. You got to understand, this Bitcoin is a blessing. This Bitcoin is a blessing from Allah. Just as anxious as the way of the world is and can make you, just as excited and motivating on the other end, on the level of being on the ark when it's raining. Okay, that's the level of satisfaction, joy, comfort, security, etc. To the extent that a worldly resource can provide that, there is nothing that matches the present and future potential of this particular asset. I gotta put this phone off. All right, so we're going to talk about the evolution of money systems from barter to Bitcoin, a journey through monetary evolution over time. Okay, and I believe on the heading of one of these or all of these other platforms, YouTube and Facebook, I think I said, where will you be in 2033? Where will you be in 2033? So let's walk up to that right here. Okay, here's a historically accurate chronology of the transitions from various forms of money. Understand, there has not always only been one kind of money. The folks that are really wrapped up in dollars, right? get dollars and videos with stacks of money, etc. Paper money. But look how far down the line, down the road, paper money is in history. It's number 4 out of the. If put crypto at the top 10 in the evolution and the later evolution, how far back is paper money? I say now, I say again, paper money today is poor people's money. Paper money is poor people's money. Okay. All right. So you have the barter system. The barter system is when is direct exchange. You give me this, I give you that. That's that. All right. Then we move to commodity. Excuse me. Then we move to commodity money, which is grain, livestock, etc. That is, those things can be used. Even right now, the idea or the term capital, right? The term capital, it talks about head, how many heads of cattle, right? Capital, right? That has to do with the idea of commodity money. And then also, then the movement was to precious metals. So you have gold and silver. And then the move after that was to paper money. And then the move after that to bank checks. Then the move after that, traveler's checks. And mashallah, it's really something. I hadn't even thought about it for some time. But yeah, I used to do the traveler's check thing, right? Of course, the bank checks as well. But then the move was to money orders, right? And then credit and debit cards, and then mobile payment systems, and then cryptocurrency. All right, so this is the order of the systems of money that we're going to be walking through. And I'm going to walk you through the questions and answers that I've given vis-a-vis AI. This wasn't just raw research on my part. We don't have time. And AI is a labor-saving device. Now, so let's start by calculating the time intervals between transitions and the percentage of acceleration for each transition. Here we are. So the number one, the first quote unquote form of money was actually barter, right? Then of course, then you move it down to commodities. So once we get away from the barter, now we're talking about things that were used as money, those things that were facilitating exchange. So commodity money is sort of like the first quote unquote money to be able to exchange, not directly or one-to-one kind of exchange, right? So if I'm trading whatever, bananas for pickles, whatever, then that's still barter, right? But when we start getting commodities that have multiple uses, meaning I can give you this thing, whatever, but this thing can also be used in another place to facilitate a transaction. So that's when we're really talking about the beginning of money, when there's a movement from when it becomes commodity money, and then commodity money moving to precious metals. So the transition period of time for that was 3000 BC up to 600 BC. Just in case you don't know, when you do BCE, the before Common Era, before Christian era, then you count backwards, right? So that was for 2,400 years. 2,400 years was the transition period, because what I asked the chat was, when did these transitions take place? When did they reach the point of 51%? We're not even talking about higher percentages, but when you get to 51% adoption of this new form of money, okay, well that's the tipping point, right? That's the tipping point. So just at 51%, right? There are many, many years, of course, after that, when it gets to 75, 80, 90, quote unquote, 100%. But all I'm interested in, because of the place and the time that we're in right now with this new asset, I just want to know what happens when it reaches 51%. How long does it take these transitions to arrive at or to reach 51%? That was my question. Okay, so they said it took 2,400 years to reach 51% in the movement from commodity money to precious metals. And then the next move from precious metals to paper money, then it took 1,400 years to make that move. And I asked again for the percentage of time, what's the acceleration rate? So the acceleration rate relative to this transition from 2,400 to 1,400, I'm not going to do it all, but I just want you to understand it. Those of you who really want to get it, do a screenshot and you can follow it up yourself. So from that period of time, about 1.71 times faster. That is, took 2,400 years to get from commodities to precious metals, and then from precious metals to paper money, it took 1,400 years. And then the acceleration rate between the two of them is like the second one happened 1.7 times faster than the first one. That is, the precious metals to paper occurred 51% arrival adoption time. It occurred 1.7 times faster than the previous transition. All right, let's move that now from paper money, which inherited from precious metals the throne, inherited the throne from precious metals. That paper money was also it moved from paper money to to bank checks, right? And so the transition period for that 8 CE. Now we're after BCE, so now you start adding. Now you go from 800, 900, 1000, 1100, blah blah. How long was that from paper money to bank checks? That was 700 years, right? And by comparison, it happened 2 times faster than the previous transition. And now moving from bank checks to traveler's checks, the transition time from that 1500 CE period of the 51% to get to 51% in traveler's checks, that was that was a 374 year, pardon me. The transition was, up to 374 years. And so there was a 200-year estimated 51% adoption by 1700. So it's like somewhat earlier, actually. And that's why the acceleration rate was 3.5 times faster. Bank checks to traveler's checks, that transition happened 3 to 5 times faster. That also tells you that one of the reasons that it's more accessible, more useful, it has more utility in it, and just recognize speed is significant when it comes to wealth exchange, right? Okay, so 3.5 times faster the movement from bank checks to traveler's checks as compared to paper money to bank checks. 3.5 times faster. Traveler's checks to money orders, right? And that was a movement that took 46 years. That is from 1874 to 1920, arriving at that 51% adoption level, 50 years, right? 50 years. And what happened with that? The acceleration rate as compared to the previous transition was 4 times faster. We're down to 2-digit numbers, right? You started with 4-digit numbers up there, commodity money and precious metal, 2,400 years, right? Such that now travelers checks and money, or rather at this point, travelers check and money orders 4 times faster. All right. Now the numbers change because of automatic formatting, blah blah. This is actually the number from 6 to 9 of those that were listed. Remember, the barter was not included in this list because it's just direct exchange. It didn't become money until whatever it is that you use can be used for more than just direct exchange, right? And so therefore, there's only 9 and not 10. All right, so here's continue the transition. Money orders to credit and debit cards. MBNA. I just say MBNA. You can look up MBNA. I mean, they would get you to. It's like, but I mean, I was a Muslim when that reached us. I'll put it that way. Since this period of time from 1920s and 1950s. But it was still new because you know how long it takes us to reach the hood, to reach our demographic, all right, as this monetary convenience, etc. So it wasn't until the 70s, I'll just call it the late 70s, that, I think I got my first credit card, something like that. Any case, so the movement from money orders to credit and debit cards, the transition period from 1920 to 1950, now that's just 30 years, right? To reach the 51% adoption rate, level, magnitude. That acceleration was just 1.67 times faster than money order, faster than the previous cycle. Let's remind, the previous cycle was traveler's check to money orders. Now moving from money orders to credit and debit cards, 30 years, 1.67, right? Okay, and these also very similar. How can you say instruments? They're very similar instruments. Money orders, credit cards, debit cards. No matter. That's how long it took the movement up to 51%, right? So in terms of credit and debit cards and their movement from them to mobile payment systems, that's 50 years. So now we're talking 1950 up to 2000. 50 years, mobile payment systems, right? Um, what's that? 30-year estimate of 51% adoption by the 80s. So in the 80s. And again, all we got to do is ask ourselves, where were you in the 80s when this transition was taking place? It was like 51% of the world was already there, all right, in the 80s. Were you using mobile payment systems in the 80s? I know I wasn't. I'm certain within the last 5 years, the card on your phone, the Apple Pay, and all the rest of that, I wasn't doing none of that in last 5 years, if that long. The point is that there are economic systems and monetary systems that are in operation. They are in operations, as you should see, decades and decades before we even see them or know about them. Who is we? My demographic. Y'all work that out. Just in case you don't know, I'm not going there. So the credit, debit cards, and mobile payments, okay, just one time faster than money orders to credit cards, right? All right. Then you have now we're in the phase of this movement that started with mobile payments to cryptocurrency, right? And I'm going to put it this way. They said there is no mass media, there's only TV. There's a publication for that. When I'm thinking about cryptocurrency, especially in this conversation, there is no cryptocurrency. There's only BTC. There's only Bitcoin. All right. I know there are altcoins in it. I know, and you know. Okay. But the granddaddy of them all that kicked it off in this 2009 CE number here, that's Bitcoin. All right. The first block was mined January 2nd, 2009 by Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever he, she, they were, are, etc. That was what was happening there. And so the transition to that, and I should say really the birth of it, he said 9 years. So the 9 years there, I should just go to the next sentence. It says, let's assume that it hasn't reached 51% adoption yet. No, it has not reached 51% adoption. It was just born in 2009. So it was born after the mobile payment system reached its 51% adoption. Then 9 years into that process, here's the birth of the next money system, cryptocurrency. And that was only 9 years. But that being said, is that we have not reached 51% in the transition from mobile payment systems to cryptocurrency. All right. So the next query, given this be the case for all these transitions, one of the critical things that you need to be really, really clear on: money changes. JB had a song, "Money Won't Change You." Yeah, money won't change you, but money's going to change, and money's been changing, right? So just so it's clear. So it's like, oh yeah, it's all the dollar's going to be king forever. Whatever you're thinking about, forget about it. Forget about it. You can do the same thing. You can find the list of world's reserve currency. You'll find that it used to be the pound. It used to be the Spanish, whatever crown or whatever Spain was. It's like each one of those lose the throne at some point in time, just from a global currency perspective. But the fact is that money changes because the world changes. Let's move on to stay within some time frame here. So, given the trend of increasing acceleration, let's estimate why cryptocurrency, when cryptocurrency might reach 51% of that. Now, this is the news for you. You're in the world of investment. They call this the alpha. This is the alpha. This is the money making information. The money making information upon which you can make decisions. All right. So let's estimate when cryptocurrency might reach 51% adoption. The last period, which is mobile payments to cryptocurrency, took 9 years. Remember now, that's just to the latest, up to the birth date of crypto, but we're going to stay with 9 years for the transition, even though, as the note says, it hasn't reached 51%, and that's absolutely true. Okay, for this transition, with previous adoption periods varying generally accelerating. If the trend follows, the next major adoption should be even faster, possibly than the 1.67 fast interval than the last one. That is faster than the last one by the last one was credit to mobile payments one time. Said this one should be faster, just sticking with the low number. All right. Said the estimated acceleration rate, let's estimate a further acceleration of around 1.67 times faster. Okay. So now we're doing projection. Okay. Transition. We're in the midst of a transition right now. The particular asset that's next up for transition, how long is it going to take it to get to 51% adoption? That's the question, right? So the decision is to use the number 1.67. So here's the prediction for cryptocurrency. And again, for me, cryptocurrency is BTC. It was my question, BTC. All right. So the prediction of that 51% adoption, mobile payment system 51% adoption around 2015. The predicted cryptocurrency 51% adoption if we apply a 1.67 acceleration to the previous adoption time frame, that is the mobile payment system adoption time frame, which was a period of 2000 to 2015, then that's 15 to 20 years, right? The next adoption could take approximately, because you had to calculate the adoption in terms of the 51% for the movement from mobile payments to crypto. So this again, it is speculation, but those are the numbers for the math of it. The next adoption could take approximately 20 years divided by 1.67, which is 12 years from 2015. Thus, cryptocurrency might reach 51% adoption around 2027, right? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Nation of Islam, taught us history is best qualified to reward all research. So if history is any heuristic, rule of thumb, principle to make some projections on, then the 51% adoption is possible to occur in 2027. That's just 3 years from now. Give these qualifications, given the increasing rate of technological adoption, and the trend is acceleration, meaning that if you take the technology the way that is it growing, and the fact that the trend is up and moving faster overall, this is what's happening. So the conclusion is this: considering the pattern of acceleration in the adoption of various forms of money, cryptocurrency could potentially reach 51% global adoption in 2027. However, this is a broad estimate and the actual rate of adoption may vary based on many socioeconomic factors. I don't know if I have that next, but it is critical. Yeah, I do have that next. So to speculate on the possible price of Bitcoin in 9 years, all right, if that 9-year figure is used, if 51% adoption of cryptocurrency is achieved, there are several factors that need to be considered. While we can't predict with certainty, we can outline a speculative scenario based on current trends, models, and assumptions in the cryptocurrency market. And I'm just going to move right through these because these are factors that have to do with this adoption rate, meaning that these things have to be favoring adoption, right? Stock to flow model has to do with how you get, meaning how much gold is being mined over what period of time. I'm talking about, I'm using gold as a model, right? But Bitcoin has a fixed rate of production. It's mathematically calculated. It's something like every 10 minutes or something like that. A block is mined, right? And that's stock to flow. And so stock has to do with how much is available. So we know that there are 21 million Bitcoin. I'm not going into all that. You can study that, get to that. The point is that there's 21 million. So many of them, like 19 and a half and 19.7 million have been mined, and so many of those have been lost, and there's just only so many available. So the point is that, so that's the stock and the flow, meaning how many are being mined and how much remains, right? Not going to go into all the rest of that when we talk about the halving and all the rest of those things. But the point is, this is just one model. There's also another one called the power law. I may say something about it, I'm not sure. But let's move through these 5 things, okay? Stock to flow, meaning that's sort of like the mathematical model, a mathematical model that's used to say, okay, this is historically what's been the case, blah blah blah, and it matches up, it resonates in some way, but in other places say it was broken. I'm just saying that so you can know it's not just so. These other things are much more fixed. Market adoption and usage. So as adoption grows, the demand for Bitcoin as a store of value, medium of exchange, or investment asset will likely increase. This could drive the price up significantly, which absolutely would have. Less than a year ago, Bitcoin was like something like $26,000 per coin, right? And like right now, it's around figures 60,000 per coin. And when we started talking about it in 2017, it was like 4,000 the coin. Okay, so as adoption grows, and that's what's happening, and we can go to the next line, number 3. If institutional investors, so now we have the BlackRock ETFs, we got MicroStrategy, and you got banks and others buying into corporations like MicroStrategy, who fundamentally is a corporation that operates upon a Bitcoin strategy, right? And there's so many that are unspoken, hidden, laying in the cut, not telling everybody, millions and millions, and the sovereign wealth funds, and they have language like the family offices, and but you have even other countries like El Salvador and so many others who are adopting. So you're getting this global adoption. China China was trying to push back on it, and no, the mining is illegal in China. Okay, well, China, okay, go ahead. You can mine some. Russia saying, no, you can't do it. Yeah, okay, let's do that. So all the what you call the regulatory environment, the global economic conditions, all these things are changing, and they are providing a tailwind. ETFs, you got to look them up. The Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs. These are different derivatives from cryptocurrency that are utilities that are coming in to do the thing that quote unquote money does, but even doing it better, right? Look it up, study it. You should, you must. So now, along with the market adoption and usage, and then the institutional and retail investment, what I just talked about, that institutional investors, pension funds, large companies increase their holdings of Bitcoin, which could create upward price pressure that's happening as we speak. Then the global economic conditions, I just talked about El Salvador, I talked about China, I talked about Russia, and other places other countries that are literally shifting towards an economic system that has Bitcoin as a critical part of its own asset resources. So global economic conditions, so economic factors such as inflation, currency devaluation, and financial instability in traditional markets could influence Bitcoin's price as people seek alternative assets. This is happening as we speak. There's a meeting right now in Jackson Hole, I think it's Wyoming. But the point is, a regular place that they meet to try to give out the little word about, okay, this, and they hint that they're going to do this or say that they're going to do that. But that's also the world, the economic world, if you will, especially the BTC world, is waiting for September, round figure September 17th, for the Fed Chairman Powell to make a decision about interest rates, right? And how that works. And like, if he cuts interest rates, which everybody holding crypto, BTC especially, are hoping that they will cut that, because if that happens, then that means the quote unquote dollars become quote cheaper, if you will, cheaper in terms of borrowing and getting that, then that flood of money that becomes available because they can borrow, right, is coming to cryptocurrency, right? So that's why, cryptocurrency is kind of running sideways right now, because they're waiting for that FOMC decision, or the Fed decision with regard to rate cuts. In any case, so the point is, that's number 4, global economic considerations. Global economic considerations. If those are favorable, then that's favorable for adoption. And then also technological developments, improvements in blockchain technology, scalability, regulation could make Bitcoin more accessible and attractive to a broader audience, right? Faster, more broadly, more scalable, etc. And most of those, or many of those altcoins, when you hear about altcoins, you name the one that you might know that's not Bitcoin or Ethereum. Any other one that you name that's not Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's literally, Ethereum is an altcoin too, but a little bit different. Any case, so all the others, those are altcoins, but they are the ones who have a story, a narrative, a use case. They're literally apps, just like you have apps on your phone for doing this, that, and that. Well, the same way with these altcoins are really apps, but they're applications that have use in the world of transactions, in the world of finance, etc., in the world of asset security and access. So, fine. So the point is, all of these 1 through 5 are favoring right now. They are favoring adaptation or adoption of Bitcoin. So let's get to some numbers as we draw to a close. So here's the case. Given that the current 2024 price of Bitcoin is an average, we're talking about today, like the average is about 58.7 thousand as it stands right now per coin. Here are the speculative projections. These are no promises, and this is not advice. This is just information. You make your own decisions. But here are the projections, given all that history that we talked about, moving from one transitional phase of money to another transition phase of money, etc. And now we're at the phase of this movement from mobile money, let's call it, to cryptocurrency. Applying that speculation, if the price follows a conservative growth trajectory similar to the historical trends, then Bitcoin could see prices in the range of 1 million to 2 million per coin by 2033. Now that for me became also significant. I do believe Allah's hand is in it, because nothing happens except by the will of Allah. But you know, 1933 is when Farad left and left Elijah Muhammad in charge of the baby nation, right? So for that coin to hit that 1 million to 2 million, this is the range. The low side is 1 million to 2 million per coin. If you're sweating 60,000 right now, it's like it's about to get to a place, if it's not already there for you, where it's just completely quote unquote out of reach as a coin, but you don't have to go with the whole thing. That's another conversation. But you don't have to think just I ain't got $60,000. Well, you got $600. Oh, I got a little chart for you coming up so I can cut this conversation. Okay, so the low estimate is 1 million to 2 million by 2033. The high estimate with more rapid adoption, and I'm saying these tailwind situations of the 1 through 5 that we read through, these are tailwind situations that are going to amplify, inshallah, that are going to amplify the adoption of that. Not to talk about the other financial crisis, inflation, and other things that are going to, because you know, AI is messing up a whole lot of people's income flow, income situation. So that are going to really continue to shift the economic pressures for the preservation of assets. And there's nothing that's demonstrating this capacity for holding value as is Bitcoin. But move on. So the higher estimate with more rapid adoption and favorable economic factors, prices could potentially reach 2 million to 10 million per Bitcoin. All right, and we're talking in 2033. Remember, we're working with a 9-year period. So if cryptocurrency reaches 51% global adoption in 9 years, Bitcoin's price could be between 1 and 10 million per coin by 2033. And this reflects the starting point of 58,700 that is right now. So if somebody said, okay, I can say something, I know you, again, you don't have to buy whole, but I want to deal with whole numbers here. So 58,700, if somebody told you can buy something for 58, or let's round it out, you can buy something for $59,000, which has the potential in 9 years to be worth between 1 million and 10 million. If you had $59,000, would you make that investment? What about a house in a good neighborhood, etc.? And it's a part of the county plan to build more things that will facilitate the appreciation of the value of your property. They said you can get it for $59,000, but in 9 years, with all these developments come in, it could be potentially worth $7 million. Would you buy it? That's why I say, where will you be in 2033? Do you have reason to believe that you're going to be alive in 2033? I mean, I'm certainly praying for that. I'm hoping, expecting that. It's like, shoot, 80s and like that, them ain't no scary numbers anymore. Man, I know so many 80 plus, 90-year-old folks, mashallah, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. Shoot. 81's a youngster nowadays. Come on now. I know most of y'all past retirement age when you listen. So get with me on that. It's like, come on. So like, I mean to be around here. So you got to change your nutrition. You got to change your exercise regimen. You got to drink more pH balanced water. All that. You hear me? It's like, no, man. I'm hanging out here. Unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, no, Fahim, you done good, but come on, you got to go. So you got to push on. But I pray, my Lord, let me live to see this $1 million Bitcoin issue. I just want to see it. Let's move on. Okay, so Bitcoin, BTC speculation price 2033. Now let's come into quote unquote the range of some of us who are not in touch with it as much or in the way that I am. Here's some numbers for you to consider. Here's a chart showing potential earnings in 2033 based on investments today. I'm talking about a one-time set it and forget it, walk away from it investment. right? I ain't got, okay. Do you have $100? Okay, buy Bitcoin with it and just forget about it. Don't do nothing else. You got 500, just do that. Forget about it. 1,000, do that. Forget about it. Just think about it. You know, somebody somewhere, you got $5,000 sitting somewhere, and you just open up your portfolio or your account, and you just look at it. You just, oh yeah, still there. Oh yeah. This is a dangerous thing. Just no, wait. You do what you got to do in that. Here's an illustration that I accept. Putting money in the bank. When you put money in the bank, you actually are giving it to the bank. The bank owns that. But it's my savings account. Ask the Patelco people. Okay. Well, that's a credit union. Okay. Well, ask the people the last time the banks had a holiday, right? Come on. So it's like, no. It's like, that's the case. So, but even more concerning is the fact that you should see that money in a savings account that's not paying you any kind of interest, and that inflation is still rising. You should see, meaning that's depreciation on the value of the dollar, and you're not doing anything with it. It's just sitting in the bank, and you open up your account. Okay, same number, but those dollars don't have the same value that they had last year. Okay, and so the analogy for that is like it's a big cube of ice sitting there in a low a low whatever a low condition, a no low air conditioning point. You understand what I'm saying? It's warm relative to ice. Ice has got to stay 32 degrees or below, right? But when you put your money in a bank, it's like you're putting ice into a refrigerator, freezer per se. Yeah, let's do it like that. It's like putting your ice in the refrigerator. It's cold, but is that going to stay ice? No, it's going to melt. And it's going to melt every second that it's in that environment, because that environment is not a 32-degree and below environment. Likewise, the banking situation is not a situation that retains the value of your dollar. And plus you pay them for having the account in most cases. So let's move away from that. So the point is that just consider the fact that you got somebody sitting there, and then not even to talk about how things can go down and say your retirement funds have been taken for this or taken for that, or this law has been written that makes it an obligation for you to do this. All that's possible. Moving on. So here are the potential earnings by 2033 if you just set it and forget it with $100. Set it and forget $100. The low side, 9 years from now, 2033, you talk about $1,700 or so. High end, $8,000. You didn't put another dime after the $100 in there. Put $100. Okay. Then come back 9 years later. Very strong possibility at the high end that you're looking at 8,000. But let's just say if it's just halfway right. If it's halfway right, then you're talking about, let's call it 4,000. All right. Okay. What if you do the same thing with $500? Set it and forget it. Put it in the Bitcoin. Don't think about it again. There you go. Okay. Well, 2033, you're looking at $8,000 at the low end. 2033 at the high end, you're looking at 42,000 speculatively, right? And most of these are really small numbers, because what's happening is crazy. When you talk about the global adaptation of it, and this we're talking about 51%. We're not talking about 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%. We're just talking about this in 9 years. So what about your grandchildren? What do you want to leave them, right? Okay. So there you're talking about $1,000. Set it and forget it. 9 years, you're coming back to 17,000. Okay. Low end. High end, 85,000. 5,000, set it and forget it. The same place that you got is sitting in whatever other kind of instrument. Just move the 5,000 from there to there, and don't think about it again for 9 years. At the low end, you're talking about 85,000. At the high end, you're talking about speculatively 425,000, almost $500,000. You didn't do anything else. You just put it in there, walked away, and said, "Oh, okay, we're good. Lock that. That's fine." All right. These projections highlight the potential return on investment if Bitcoin reaches the speculative price as of 2033. Okay. All right. So I've already covered those timelines. Okay. So that's it. There was some other thing. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Inshallah. If Allah give us life and time, we'll do that. So fundamentally, that's what I came to say today. I hope you got it. If you didn't get it, go back, listen again. Generate your own questions. Listen, all of the time that I've been digging into this, looking into this, I've been creating folders and creating documents like this one, for example. It's going to go into my all things crypto file. So, but it's like I'm not giving you carte blanche to say send me the file, but I am giving you the invitation to your crypto question. I may know exactly the link that you need to go to, or I may have already done some paper or some other that I can send you. But listen, the way that this is going, a big story is going to be told. That is a big part of what I'm talking about is going to be impacted after September 17th. So there's this potential for after September 17th that you're looking at $75,000, $100,000 value to that, and this is before even you getting the 51% adoption in this later time. So I'm just saying, you just don't miss the boat, because I believe Allah has blessed us at this time with this asset and with this access to asset, which can be broken down into satoshis, right? So it's like if you can't get the whole bill, the dollar bill, let's use example. If you can't get the whole dollar bill, maybe you can get some dimes, you can get some nickels, you can get some quarters, get some 50-cent pieces, what have you, to put you be in the Bitcoin game. If you miss it, you really got to ask yourself, what am I looking to and leaning on to handle my economic situation if everything goes south? So have that in mind. It's not advice. I'm just, as a friend, talking to a friend. All right, y'all, that's going to be it for us today. May Allah have mercy on us, guide us to the best. God's peace be on you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.